All right, hey everyone, Ryan here with Pan Slings. We're going to talk about waxing your sling and why that's important. And we're going to break this down into two parts. We're going to talk about cold rub waxing, the last few inches of your release cord, and then we'll talk about melting wax into the rest of the cordage. Now, of the two waxing techniques, I consider this one to be essential. And the reason being is due to whip crack fatigue. And what I mean by that, or what's happening, is when you release your release cord, and this is particularly true on tapered slings like this one. But when you release that release cord, it's going to uncurl, and that radius of the curl gets tighter and tighter until you get down to the end of the release cord, and the fiber gets so tight, or that radius gets so tight that you can actually have fiber rubbing against fiber. And that friction causes premature breakdown in this area. So to combat that, we really recommend that you wax this section of your sling. Now you can find your own wax. You can see a tin of the Pan Sling wax over there on my backpack. The reason we send it out in a tin is so it can always be with you. You can wax in the field, you can do it in just a few minutes. And we really encourage you to wax as often as needed. If there's a buildup, you can always heat it up and rub it off. But it's difficult to wax too much. And it's very simple, just as described. You really are just going to take your wax, rub it around the exterior or the diameter of that cord. I'm not going to put a lot on because I've already done this to this cord recently. So put a nice thick coat of wax on there, and then you're just going to use your fingers and you're going to mash that right into the fiber. And you're going to create that thin film of wax on the exterior of the cord. And that thin film helps protect you getting a wax on wax rub, or it keeps that friction down from really getting into the fiber of the cord. And like I said, you can always clean this up, melt it when you have time, and wipe it off. But you really want to be generous on waxing this section of your sling. Now let's go inside and we'll talk about waxing the rest of the cordage. These are both my slings that I use regularly. They're both 27s. You can see one is just has a little bit less body and density to it. And so this is my waxed sling, and this is my unwaxed sling. That little extra density does help with cracking and a little bit more stiffness. It does help a little bit with control. So I do like to wax my slings. Now to start with, something to note, you never want to wax your cracker. That will decrease the cracker's performance. It just won't crack as loud if it's waxed. So keep that in mind. And then some other areas I like to use the wax sometimes inside the finger loop. That will really lock that into place on your finger. And I also sometimes wax the edge of my leather just to keep it from fraying out very much. And because it's a double layered pouch, that already helps with that. And you can just use a conditioner as well, but I do like to use wax on that edge. So we'll start with just the retention cord here. And what you'll want to use is a hairdryer. They put out enough heat on the high setting to melt this wax, and it will never get hot enough to damage your cord. So I don't recommend using a heat gun. Now I will use a heat gun because I know how to use it on a low setting and keep the distance correct from the sling so it doesn't damage my cord. I like to keep some cardboard under my sling while I do this, or paper towels, and just have some of those on hand to wipe off excess wax. Now the Pan Sling wax, I'm going to use this one. I've waxed several slings with this, but this wax does not have any paraffin in it, so it won't get cakey or have those white flecks in the sling. So it flexes really well with your sling. So to start with, the first thing you want to do, once you have everything laid out, just go ahead and wax, a 10 to 8 inch area all around the sling. And so you're just going to drag the wax along the cord until it builds up some on the surface, and just do that all the way around. Once you've got enough on there that it really won't take any more, then you go ahead and turn on your hairdryer. This will work a little bit faster than a hairdryer. Just warm up that wax. And what you'll notice as you do that, it just starts to liquefy and it soaks into the cord. And that's what we're going for. So we want to wax this sling in these different sections, working in 8 to 10 inch sections, so that we can get the cordage to take up as much wax as it will hold. And that's when we're done. So this first application is almost through, completely soaked in. That's it. And then I'm going to apply another coat. Actually, I was going to use my used wax here. So again, and as you apply and this gets warm, it's going to get a little bit slick as you put this on. But just keep rotating your cord around, again, until it's loaded with wax, and then melt again. And if you just work in those shorter sections, it makes this a lot more manageable. Generally, it takes about 30 minutes or so to wax a whole sling. And I find that I have to do this about 3 times per section. And once it stops taking up wax, once the cord is loaded with wax, so it looks like it'll take another coating. But once it's loaded and it's not taking up as much wax anymore, not as readily, then you're just about done. And you can just take a paper towel, and any that is left on the surface, you can just wipe that off. But I hope that helps with understanding why we wax and how to do that.